Thank you, Tom. It's certainly wonderful to be here, and what a terrific evening. I mean, I just, sitting here listening to all these great stories, all these great companies, it is really just such a great example of Chicago and what Chicago is about, and it's very inspiring. So congratulations to all the winners who've been up here tonight, and thank you, Tom and Dan, and Chicago Innovations for this great recognition for myself, and I do so certainly on behalf of the Wrigley Company and the many members of the Wrigley team that I've reconnected with here tonight. Very, very inspiring. So I'd like to make a few remarks tonight, and Tom mentioned that I spend my time on a variety of business and philanthropic ventures. So today, my playing field for innovation is broader than it has ever been. And it's led me to an important realization, and that is that innovation should be the engine that powers every facet of our lives. Yes, our business lives, but also our personal lives, our relationships with family members and friends, how we spend our time outside of work, and even our political convictions. And for that reason, I hesitate to even use the word innovation because we tend to associate it with product and business-related ideas. So I think a better word to describe the driving force behind innovation and creativity is energy. So rather than focus specifically on innovation tonight, I want to talk about the energy and innovation that we all need to bring to our lives every day. So how do we create energy? Well, for me, it's when I'm doing something totally new, when there's a learning curve, especially a steep learning curve, or something that pushes me out of my comfort zone. I truly believe that no matter what age we are, it's important that we still do first-time things that we haven't done before. Make yourself uncomfortable. Now, everyone here knows that without innovation, we stagnate, and without growth, we decay. At this point, I'd go into the theory of entropy and the second law of thermodynamics, because when we talk about decay, that's what we're really talking about, but Tom has told me that I don't have that much time, so I'll move on from that and stick to the rest of the message. But now is the time that we need to reinvent ourselves and infuse and channel energy into everything we do. Whether it's creating an environment in our country that is conducive to innovation and growth, whether it's building a culture of energy and innovation within our companies or organizations, or identifying ways to bring energy and innovation into our personal lives. So let's start with the state of our country and the need we have to re-energize our great nation. And no doubt the times we live in are some of the most challenging that we've ever seen. We're in the midst of an ongoing global economic crisis, as well as a crisis of leadership, especially in the United States. We're struggling to implement solutions, and the future looks more difficult than ever. Now, that said, we all know that dire times have sparked some of the most creative thinking. And one of my favorite examples of this comes from Wrigley, of course, when during the Second World War, the ingredients we needed for our gum were being reallocated to the war effort. But rather than compromise on the quality, we pulled our product from the civilian market and ran an ad campaign entitled simply, "Remember This Wrapper." And we did that, promising our customers that we would return. After the war, we relaunched our gum and sales came back stronger than ever. But today we face a different kind of battle. Think for a moment of the seed of a plant or a tree. Before it is able to grow, it must firmly plant its roots to provide the lifeblood for growth. So we need to return to our roots of enterprise, creative thinking, and entrepreneurship if we are to remain a strong world economy and work through our present state. So to accomplish this, we need to reestablish an environment in our country that fosters innovation, which means we need to be vocal about finding leaders who will put policies in place that give businesses a platform to succeed. Our policies need to be based on long-term solutions that are right for the country, not short-term gimmicks designed to win the next election. And we need a strategy that is consistent and competitive. As you know, it's extremely difficult to play on a moving field of laws and regulations. Now, at this point, I want to make it clear that I'm not running for office. But I do think that it's important and timely to talk about how our economic and fiscal policies impact our ability to innovate. So what can we do as individuals? Well, we need to continue to speak out, take action, vote, and demand that our political leadership supports policies that promote innovation, because innovative businesses are the ones that create jobs and prosperity. And if you think it's not possible for an individual to make a difference politically or be creative within the political process, think about what one entrepreneur is doing to shake up the system. Have you heard about Americans Elect? Americans Elect is a completely new alternative to our current presidential and vice presidential nomination system. It's not a new party or a set ideology. It's an internet-based, nonpartisan process for nominating a presidential ticket. Now think about it. It's incredibly hard to be placed on the ballot in all 50 states if you decide not to go through the Republican or Democratic convention process, and consequently affiliate or align with one of those two sets of ideals. With Americans Elect, instead of a candidate launching a campaign and focusing on winning primaries in a few key states to ultimately win the party's nomination, these candidates are directly nominated online by the broader population. The lead candidate is then part of the normal election process, competing against the Republican and Democratic nominees. So this allows for, among other things, a nonpartisan ticket, and for a qualified candidate to run with far less funding than the roughly $800 million to $1 billion it presently takes to run for president. Now, I'm not here to pitch this approach. I want to make that clear. But I do think it's pretty interesting that someone, an individual, has put together this process, and they've already gathered over 2 million signatures. They're on the ballot in 7 states. They plan on being on the ballot in some 28 states by the end of the year, and have completed being on the ballot in all 50 states by sometime in the second quarter of next year, so that this process can be part of the 2012 election campaign. So I think it's incredibly interesting that someone had the energy, the passion, and the courage to rethink something that I think many of us agree needs some serious retooling. Net-net, a great example of energy and creativity at work. So let me move on from politics and shift to bringing energy and innovation into the workplace. All of you know there are a myriad of ways to spark innovation at work, but here are 3 that I find the most important. The first is that creativity needs to be fostered, not forced. It's all about creating the right environment. When I took over as the 4th generation leader of the Wrigley Company, we knew that one of our first priorities had to be reigniting a spirit of innovation. So we elevated the R&D function to be part of our core leadership team, better aligned the R&D process with sales, marketing, procurement, and other functions. And then we invested in a $41 million global innovation center on Goose Island. But what really made the difference is what we changed culturally. We made very clear to our people that it wasn't about the building. It was about a spirit within the company and within every associate. We strived to create a spirit that pervaded the entire organization and would thrive over time, that would ignite creativity and energy among our people, and that would be deeply woven into our culture. We trained and rewarded collaboration, risk-taking, empowerment, honesty, and trust. We intervened when we saw behavior that worked against that, things like assigning blame or retribution for mistakes and silos between departments. You know, I had a baseball coach who once used to tell us, you can't steal second base if you keep your foot on first. Experimentation requires risk, and our people needed to know that they had permission to go for it. So here's a second way to energize your team. Focus on anticipating wants versus satisfying needs. Now this is particularly difficult, and in fact, I'm not sure we ever really figured it out entirely at Wrigley, because it's very, very tempting to become overly reliant on quantitative research. Yet some of the best innovations come from figuring out what customers don't even know they want. Now, 10 years ago, if someone asked us how we wanted to listen to music, would our answer have been on an iPod? As Steve Jobs said, it's really hard to design products by focus groups. A lot of times people don't know what they want until you show it to them. So one of the best ways to break out of this paradigm is to look outside your industry for disruptive ideas around which an innovation can flourish. So my third point on business. Our people have heard me say repeatedly, respect the past, but at all times, do what's right for the future. It seems difficult at times to argue with one person who says, we tried that 2 years ago and it didn't work. But hasn't a lot changed since 2 years ago, with all the change going on in the world? Often an obligation to do what has been done before is the chain that keeps us from innovating. So keeping this thought top of mind allowed us to preserve what is special about Wrigley in terms of values and culture, but at the same time, provide new opportunities for our associates and drive long-term generational growth for our company. Which brings me to my final point, and that is identifying ways to bring energy and innovation into your personal life. Now, we all spend a lot of time channeling our energy into our professional lives, often at the expense of other dimensions that can be so much more rewarding if we channel creativity into them as well. Whether it's family, education, art, music, sports, travel, health, or whatever your passion may be. After all, innovation means being open to possibilities and to dreams. So what if, instead of being frustrated or worrying about something in our personal lives or the world around us, we took the time to look for creative solutions? What would that look like? Well, for me, I have a passion for being around water, which led to an interest in preserving our oceans. My love of water started at an early age, and in fact, last year I spent over 200 hours underwater. That's in case you wondered where I've been for the last year or so. But when I saw how incredible this invaluable natural resource is, and how much it was eroding, I decided to take action. So working with Conservation International, my wife Heather and I have helped to spearhead their global marine program and to create and launch a new initiative called the Ocean Health Index. Now, the OHI is a mechanism to measure the health of our oceans. We brought together 50 of the top global scientists and marine biologists from around the world, who then identified the 100 most important measures of ocean health. These measures will then be weighted and synthesized into one composite score, which can be applied to a large body of water like the Pacific, or a smaller one like the Gulf of Mexico. This is the first holistic system of ocean health measurement. It's essentially a Dow Jones of our oceans, and it will help us to put critical facts in front of business leaders, heads of state, and policymakers so that we can promote action on a state, regional, country, and global level. And once we launch our website, you will be able to track the health of our oceans over time and by region. Now, this initiative has been endorsed by the World Bank, and we will officially launch OHI in January at the World Economic Forum. I've worked for years applying the principles of innovation in business setting, and it's incredibly exciting and energizing seeing these same principles put to work in a completely different form. So my advice here is simply to pursue your passion and bring energy and innovation into all of your life experiences. Maybe that would be my most important legacy. So to conclude, the economic storm we face today demands that we as business leaders cooperate, and that we work together with energy as a powerful force to overcome today's challenges and create tomorrow's solutions. This room is made up of people who have had the good fortune of fulfilling their dreams and those who are still working on them. And each one of us can be a catalyst for growth, a change agent, if you will. And for those who have achieved their dreams, step back and help others, like the great Chicago community that we are. And for those of you who haven't yet fulfilled your dream, don't give up. There's always a silver lining if you allow yourself to see it and learn from it. Even in these discouraging times, there is always an opportunity. To innovate is to question the nature of things. And when we stop questioning, we go on autopilot, and then we become victims in life. Our country was based on the principles of a strong work ethic, challenging the status quo, the freedom to pursue our dreams, and the opportunity to explore the unknown. Let's not allow our country, our communities, or ourselves to stagnate and decay. We need to grow and seize the opportunities that surround us. It's part of our heritage. It's who we are. After all, the greatest legacy we can leave for future generations is creating an environment that inspires every one of us to learn, to grow, and become more than we ever thought possible. Thank you for being here, and have a great evening.